What happened to the perfect person from your high school? I went to a high school of 2,400 plus, so there were quite a few popular folks. I'll tell the one story I remember best though. I was perusing the paper about 9 years post graduation and found out that the chipper, young beautiful blonde, who had always maintained straight as and was kind to anyone, regardless of age, gender, creed, race, and so forth, had gotten married and had done quite well for herself. No surprise there. According to the article, she had a great husband, a couple beautiful kids, a career, and just overall looked like she had a great life. Unfortunately, the article was her obituary. An aggressive form of breast cancer had taken her young at just 27. A number of bullies from my younger years are still wallowing like cockroaches, living off others and chasing the next high, but the universe took one of the brightest ones. As in pretty, smart, and nice? That would be a tall blonde in the high achievers class. I really liked her. She was respectful toward everyone and wise beyond her age. Cared about everything and everyone. She became very interested in social issues, mainly the environment, during senior year, attending protests and eventually leading them. I saw her campaigning and working for the council, tried to gain employment in politics. But she also became very disenchanted and cynical from her social media posts. She talked about how hard it was to make people look at the evidence, how nobody who plays fair ever gets ahead, how easy it is to buy into lies, and how the good guys just can't win. She seemed burnt out. 10 years later she's working in an entry-level position at the taxation office and looks exhausted all the time. I think she wants to be left alone with her cat and a lot of wine. He had a heart attack in his early 20s. He survived, is doing fine now, and ended up being hired by the company that made his pacemaker he got after the heart attack. He didn't mention it in the interview. They only found out after they hired him, so they moved him from accounting to be one of their spokesmen. She wasn't the most popular, but she sure as shit seemed to be the most perfect in every way. Turns out that was a facade, and I ran into her at the shitty, rundown, half mental health half methadone clinic about 5 years after graduation. Still had a smile plastered on her face, and was as polite as one could be, given the circumstances. To this day I wonder if she was a fellow patient, or if she was volunteering her time there, but honestly neither would surprise me. Being that perfect would most definitely take a toll on your mental health. I graduated back in late '84, decent sized school in Wichita Falls, Texas. I think by far the most popular kid in school was this one girl named Debbie. Pretty hot, smart too, and super outgoing. Her dad had a god job, can't quite remember exactly what, but she wound up making a ton of connections in the entertainment industry. I'm talking really high up. Think like Madonna and U2. She had everything going for her, and when she graduated, I think she had an acting gig lined up for her in Hollywood. Well, for some reason or another, it just never worked out. She wound up marrying a CPA a few years after graduating, and her dreams went out the door when she turned 24. She'd only been with one man. I've got no idea what happened to her plans. After all, she was gonna be an actress. She was gonna be a star. She was gonna shake her ass on the hood of Whitesnake's car. Her yellow SUV is now the enemy. Looks at her average life, and nothing has been alright. Since Bruce Springsteen, Madonna, way before Nirvana, there was U2 and Blondie, and music still on MTV. Her 2 kids in high school, they tell her that she's uncool, cause she's still preoccupied with 1985. The perfect boy at my school was this preppy kid named Tom. Tom went with me to Cuernavaca on a language immersion trip in high school, so I got to spend a month with him. He was an entitled, spoiled brat most of the time, and he had no concept of how to be polite to people who not even a tenth as rich as his parents. Our host family hated him after they hosted an American barbecue with Mexican sausage and burgers because the host mom put mustard on his hot dog, and he was generally a picky eater. You do not be picky when you are in a country where poverty is very real, and they are not asking you to eat rotten shark dicks or something like that. What happened to him? He went to Stanford University, graduated, and is living in Nick, like he's Patrick Bateman or some shit, living the near yuppie life as some Wall Street banker hotshot. The valedictorian of our year level got perfect marks, automatic entry into law or medicine. He chose a culinary course which didn't even require high school marks, because he loves baking, and was always great at it. Our teachers tittered over it, and kept saying what a waste etc. Our science teacher straight up called him an idiot. I don't think his parents were happy either. He now owns multiple bakeries across the country, and must be raking in at least $500,000 annually. He's now lecturing in theoretical physics. He was always crazy intelligent, so it wasn't a surprise to anyone that he'd get as far as he has. He was crazy good at sports too, captained a couple of the school's teams, and still found time to go on the piss at weekends. He's a good guy. He was the youngest son of the richest family in town. His parents wanted him to become a doctor, probably mostly because his older siblings had become a successful lawyer and an equally successful banker. He was a childhood friend of mine all the way through primary school. I think I was tolerated by his parents because our little town had little in the way of a high-class society, and my dad was a respected journalist for a major newspaper, as well as a writer for one of the nationally recognized magazines. He loved coming over just to hang out and help do choirs. They had a maid who did everything in the house, and a gardener who'd take care of their garden. His dad would spend most of his time at work, and his mom would spend all her time on their horses. When he stayed with us, he'd get to experience such wonders as vacuuming the carpets, or make dough for a bread, or maybe even mow the lawn. When we finished primary school we went to the same gymnasium, think high school, youths between 16 to 19 years old. Since gymnasium was a bus trip away in the nearest large-ish city, I guess he kinda felt the leash loosen a little, and he turned into a complete party beast. He had those rich boy looks, money to spend, and a brilliant mind. He knocked the socks of anyone he tried to seduce, which was more or less everything in a skirt, who was willing to go clubbing with him until the early hours. Through sheer pressure from home he graduated with brilliant grades, and got accepted into medical school. I had signed up for military service, and we fell out of touch. About 10 years later I randomly met him in an international airport, and he told me that he had graduated medical school and had decided to finally do what he had always wanted. He had more or less called his parents one random day and briefly informed them that he was about to board a plane for Central America, where he would be spending the next few years working as a volunteer doctor, and if they had a problem with that they could stuff it. Nowadays he has settled down with a lovely girl he met on one of his numerous travels, and is working as a medical advisor to some EU organization. His own parents died years ago, and he has little contact with his siblings. My parents tells me that he and his wife stop by when chance brings them near our hometown, and that he's a happy guy that seemingly managed to break free from everyone else's expectations of what he should be and become. She got married to her very handsome husband, had the most adorable child ever, tried having 2 more kids, but kept having miscarriages. They're doing well though. Bought a house, great job, she's finishing her degree while being a Sam. They go on world travels with their kid once a year, almost a fairy tale life. And honestly, she deserves it. She was always the sweetest, most kind and inclusive person I know. She went to college, and then grad school, gained weight, married some guy she met on Reddit, no joke. Then they moved to Europe for several years for his job. They traveled a lot. They recently moved to our hometown, bought a house and all that. It's a nice house. She works at home or something. She recently told me she was having issues getting pregnant, which made me sad. She was never mean to me in high school or anything. She was always very sweet and genuinely was friends with everyone. I run into her from time to time around town, and I enjoy catching up with her. It was a guy and a girl, both the prom king and queen. I hated those crowds from high school because the bullying from them was really bad. It was because of a huge gap in lower class and high class. A year after school they were getting married, and MTV did a drama mini-series about young adults getting married, in which they were the stars of. My entire town of about 6,000 people watched this show, and saw just how big of pieces of shit they were, and how spoiled little rich kids they both were. They thought they were going to be stars, after being the most popular kids in school, but MTV showed their worst side of them publicly. It was extremely embarrassing for them. They deleted all their social media and basically went into hiding, and haven't heard anything from them since. I haven't liked MTV since they stopped playing music videos, but I'd praise them for showing the true colors of the upper class at my high school. It was true karma getting even. Incredibly intelligent young woman, destined for medical school and beyond. Straight A's, but suffered physical and emotional abuse from her parents who pressured her into performing at an unsustainable level. She got no choice in where she went to college. Her parents just picked for her. She spent the next 4 years getting bad grades, mingling with abusive boyfriends, ultimately graduating, but sinking her chances of med school or anything else. Now she works a job requiring high school education, and is in a codependent relationship with a real pose. We were close friends. It was terrible to see play out.